What's going on, guys? It's your boy Motomain Dan, and today we're going to be talking about Bella Wants Blood. This one, I don't think when I played it, it was like anybody told me about it, it just popped up or whatever, and I was like, oh, I'll check it out. And this one kind of started my thinking of what other tower defense games am I missing out there, because there's some good ones, and this is definitely a very solid contender for a good tower defense game. So let's get into the scoring. For the first one, we have towers. Now, in this game, I gave it a 6 out of 10. There are unique towers. They fit the game style and the gameplay. The only upgrades are the RNG upgrades that you get, but they're not... You don't get upgrades for towers that you don't already have placed down, which is good. And some of the upgrades are just global or whatever, but you can't actually upgrade the towers themselves, and you can't just freely place towers because there's no currency or anything. You just unlock them as you play selection after selection. And we'll get into that with some of these other gradings. But for a tower defense game perspective, it's a very good take on it. However, I have to give it only a 6 out of 10. Now, for the enemies, I give that a 7 out of 10. I think the enemies have a great design. There's no info about the enemies, but you can see what's coming up by hovering over the selection that you're going to make for the next match. Or for the next node, I guess, because it's a nodule progressive game, and you can see what's coming out, and they're pretty easy to determine or distinguish between each other, and what they do. Do they multiply? Do they go invisible? Whatever. It's pretty easy to figure that out. So for the enemies, I give it a 7 out of 10. Now for the progression, it's an interesting progression for a tower defense game, and the progression is that when you beat a boss, you kind of unlock the next thing, and then you can fight that boss under the next match thing that you play. So if you want to see a full playthrough, I didn't actually beat, this is the first time I beat the final boss, but if you want to see the whole progression system, I did live stream this on YouTube, so feel free to check that out. For the special enemies, the bosses are unique, and they are a main part of the game. To include Bella herself at the very end is a unique boss. So I put an 8 out of 10 for that. There's just no information about them. That's kind of the biggest thing. And there's only bosses that are special enemies. There's nothing to manipulate your towers at all, other than, of course, the final boss. So there's no other things other than bosses that I would consider a specialty unique unit. So I gave special enemies 8 out of 10. Resources, unfortunately, 0. There are no resources. It just doesn't exist. It's not a thing. For a micro pacing, I give it a 1 out of 10 because there's nothing you can do. There's no micro. Other than placing the towers down and the pacing, I give it a 1 out of 10 because the pacing it's negligible because there's nothing you can do. I mean, it's good. This game is on console, right, as well as Steam, so the audience is there. But as far as the tower defense genre itself, it's good because it has breaks. So I had to give it a 1 out of 10 because it's got breaks between it. If it didn't have breaks between each node and you had to pre-select all your nodes and just run through them all, that might make it a little worse. But no, its pacing is good with breaks. We've got macro play, 0 out of 10. There's nothing you can do with the towers. There's no way to manipulate the waves or anything other than just choosing another node. But I wouldn't consider that macro play. It's more strategy, which we'll get into. Map design, I give it a 3 out of 10. Each map starts the same. You choose in the beginning what bonuses you have or whatever, and your choices within the game as you pick different nodes you can get the path extenders, and then you keep extending the path and moving it around a little bit, but there's really nothing else you can do on the maps themselves. And of course, they're all technically the same, so I had to give it a 3 out of 10. It's a pretty low score just because they're all relatively similar, and there's not much you can do with the differences, but you will of course react to the towers you have with what the map looks like. So if you have an AoE tower, you're going to want it to loop around somewhere, or if you have long range towers, you're going to want a big cube or something to maximize any tower's efficiencies. That being said, pure strategy, 10 out of 10 for the strategy over combat ratio. This game is pure strategy. I think that this game is really, really good in that aspect of it being a really good strategy heavy tower defense game. Replayability, I put 7 out of 10. Because once you beat one boss, you then can go to the next and the next and the next and get these different starts. And with these different starts, you don't have to use them, so it's not forced. But as you unlock them, you can use them and try different strategies with your towers and stuff, which is pretty dope. There's also a challenge mode after you beat the game, which we just found out because this, as of recording this video, I finally beat the game as part of getting some footage for this grade session. And then we have the price. Now the price for this game is $4.99. I think that is a steal. So I give the price for this game a 10 out of 10. I could maybe see if there was a little bit added on, or if the developer was trying to like add DLCs or something, this would be higher. This would be like $7 or $8. I could easily see that, like $7.99. And I wouldn't feel bad buying it for that either. So I think for the price for the game, it's great. For a tower defense game, it's a lot of fun. It's unique and challenging. And, you know, no two playthroughs are going to be the same, but not necessarily because it's, like, implemented the roguelike that well. But, I mean, it's still a lot of fun. So I would 100% buy this game at the $5 price tag. And, of course, you can probably find it for cheaper on G2A or discounts or something. Definitely give it a try. Definitely give it a look. So that takes our total to 62 out of 100, which takes Bella One's Blood all the way up to the A tier for tower defense. That being said, guys, if you played this game or if you haven't, whatever, just let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the flip side. Deuces.